It's time to paint the very first character for my underground mining space marine chapter, and I'm going with the Iron Father. No idea if he's good in game, but he's good in my heart. No matter what my cardiologist says. Side note, still working on a chapter name. Y'all haven't given me some great suggestions. But I can't get over my love for the early 2000s Lego set and video games Rock Raiders. So I might just go with Raiders of the Rock. Sounds kind of Warhammer-y, right? Anywho, the Iron Father is a beautiful looking mechanical model. Basically just a beefed up tech marine that'll fit perfectly in my army. I don't like my marines to be super ornamenty, and I have my own custom decals for my chapter, so let's shave off all these details. I end up missing a whole bunch of details and have to do it later once the model is complete. Why am I so impatient? I just need to slow down. Sorry about that. He's all together now. Let's start customizing him. My drill bits are a bit small to entirely replace the axe, but we can throw one in right on the bottom of the spear. It's good for jabbing. And I thought he could use another robotic arm, so I placed one back here, kind of shoving it past his pistol holder. Why does he have a pistol? He's got all these other guns and arms and weapons. I don't think he's gonna reach out and grab his little pistol. I don't know. I wish I had removed it. I did not notice it. Too late. But then I realized I don't like this robot arm. I don't like how the silhouette looks pointed up. I want it pointed down, so we chop it off, carve it out, and replace it with a smaller arm that looks better pointed down. Now let's cut off those tools and replace them with drills. Everybody gets a drill. Now we gotta finally figure out what we're gonna replace that axe with. I borrowed some hammer bits from my buddy Geo to see if any Stormcast hammers would look good. They're all a bit too small, unfortunately. After digging through my bits bin, I come across this leg joint piece from a Chaos Knight. I think it's a bit goofy and giant and silly and perfect for Warhammer. I try and secure it with just plastic cement, but it doesn't want to stay. It falls off eventually. I'll glue it and pin it later. Now we go ahead and base the model so I can stop manhandling it. We gotta chop away this little tactical chunk of metal he's standing on, glue down some cork, and start tearing at it with my bare hands like a deranged animal. Drill at his foot a bit, and glue into place. And let's add some cork rocks to hide the leftover chunks. It was then I realized I missed a whole bunch of details I had wanted to remove, like these little skull bits everywhere. Once again, I was screwed by my impatience. Once he was based, I thought it was time to deal with this giant hole in his hammer. I thought about maybe shoving some cork in there to look like rocks, but in the end I busted out my hole punches, and it turns out the largest one I have is the perfect size to cover that hole. I apply some plastic card and the hole is covered. Just like that, he's complete. Now it's time for... Same recipe as my other videos. Prime the model white, airbrush magma droth flame contrast paint, airbrush white ink highlight, airbrush orange ink. Take the right leg, paint it dark gray, take the left arm, paint it dark gray. Do the same thing to the backpack and the helmet. Now it'd be dumb to try the product that screwed me in the last video, right? Well, let's do it anyway. Liquid mask time. We use this to protect the orange parts so I can highlight the gray parts with Vallejo blue-gray pale. Look at that, it worked! Use a bit of extra silicone to kind of pull off the rest, and perfect! Now I start blocking out colors and basing anything that would be in metallic in a smoky black. I love this AK Interactive smoky black. It's just barely not black. Very dark gray, I use it all the time. I haven't actually used actual black a single time in this entire army. I think it gives a unique feel to the paint scheme. It reduces the contrast and relies more on the colors than the light values directly. And before we get ahead of ourselves, let's put that little head back on there. Ha 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 ha. I base coat his big old gun with Vallejo London Gray, and then highlight it by mixing in a little bit of white to just make it a bit brighter. Now I dry brush all the metallic parts with the gunmetal color mixed with a bit of that smoky black. Then gradually add in more gunmetal to brighten it up. Finally dry brushing with a little bit of chrome. Now I add my traditional blue stripes, and these were very, very difficult to put on this gun. There's a lot of little bubbles and doodads sticking out of it. Again, I don't have the steadiest of hands, but I think it's a cool look. Now it's time to apply my custom decals. These are a little tricky because they're not pre-cut, so you gotta exactly cut them out of the shape. But then if you don't have leftover plastic, they're gonna have to apply. I'm getting better. I'm slowly learning how the microset and microsol work, but it's still all a work in progress, but these came out pretty good. Now I'm not normally an edge highlighter. I'm more of an army painter instead of like a display model painter, and I don't really like doing a lot of edge highlighting, but I thought I would do some just to give this model a little bit more zhuzh, as he is my main character. Highlighting orange is difficult. If you go too yellow, it just looks like macaroni and cheese to me. So I mixed in a little bit of white, a little bit of the orange ink, and I think I found a nice middle ground. Took a couple attempts though. And then the gray I just highlight with the Vallejo blue-gray pale. Now I gloss varnish the model and prepare him for an oil wash. I mix together some black and brown oils and apply it to the recesses, cleaning up any mistakes with mineral spirits. This adds some much needed definition, contrast, and a little bit of grime and grit. Now it's time for chipping. I want to try something new. In the past I just chipped by applying just brown or black paint with a sponge, but to get the more 3D effect, traditionally you start with a lighter color than the armor, so like the highlight color, a light yellow orange, and then brush in the black or brown inside to give more of a 3D chip. It took a couple tries, but I eventually found a color I like to do this. But I'm not sure it's entirely worth it. I don't like the yellow. It makes them look too mac and cheesy. To me, orange, reds, and yellows are just a little tricky. I ended up just going back to the brown sponge and figured that did a good enough job, and then going on the inside of the brown chip and adding a bit of that smoky black to make the chip a little bit deeper. Didn't quite like the effect the yellow-orange chip was giving me. Now that the oils and chips are dry, it's time to put a nice satin varnish all over the whole model and bring all the different elements together. Let's take some white ink and start picking out the eye lenses, his little light above his head, and I'm going to have the hammer glow a little bit as if there's a charge within it. I apply a variety of contrast paints to get some different colors going on. I'm sticking with the green eyes for the army. I think I've finally made that decision, because I like how they look and it makes sense if they're using some sort of night vision in their underground caverns. Now that the lights are done, I dry brush the base in a purple and turquoise, and then take a super heavily watered down purple to brush it all over the legs and anywhere dust would accumulate. Then I decided I didn't like how the hammer glow was looking, so I decided to redo it, applying a white ink glow around it, darker turquoise contrast paint to be the glow, and then applying some light turquoise contrast paint on the inside. And here we are, the finished model, the Iron Father. I think he came out beautifully. I had a ton of fun kit bashing him and painting him. I was a little bit rushed this week. I had some sort of flu cold thing last week that took me out of business, and I really wanted to get another video out for you guys. So I did kind of rush this guy. I admit it. I'm going to have to work on putting these two ideas together. I want to make content and get videos out at least 1 to 2 times a week, but also I don't want to rush things. But also I want to make videos. It's an endless struggle. I'm sure I'll figure it out as I go along, but I'm having a ton of fun with this. I'm an army painter. I'm not going to spend several weeks on a single model. I love how this guy came out, and I hope you guys do too. I've been getting a lot of support on the channel, a lot more than I thought, and I really appreciate it. You guys are enjoying watching me make this army, and I'm having a ton of fun. The next video might be the same army, or we might try a new project, because I'm addicted, and I can't stop. At any rate, let me know if you got any thoughts or opinions, or you had any good tacos lately. Leave a like if you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Bye!